8 o'clock. Good evening. This is KC9UDX. My name is Matt, and I welcome you to the 2 a.m. net. The purpose of this net is to promote the use of amplitude modulation and also to establish this part of this band as a place for AM activity in this area. Everyone is invited to listen. Licensed amateurs who can do so legally are encouraged to check in. We listen in the AM mode and transmit in the AM mode where possible. If you cannot transmit in AM, we encourage you to listen in AM and transmit in FM. If you are transmitting in FM, please adjust your transmit frequency a couple kCs above or below from our receive frequency. This facilitates the use of slope detection, that is, demodulating your FM signal with our AM receivers. When checking in, please announce your call sign in standard phonetics. Again, this is KC9UDX. My name is Matt, and I will now begin accepting check-ins. Any stations wishing to check in, please come now.
Good evening, Matt. W9JCC.
KC9UDX. This is November 9, Charlie, X-Ray Kilo.
All right, nice start. We got two so far. Recognizing Frank, W9JCC, welcome to the net, and also Carol, N9CXK, welcome back to the net. Do we have anybody else?
Here is Alpha Bravo 9er, Delta Whiskey, Dale.
All right, we got Dale, AB9DW, welcome to the net, and I got a good copy on you this time. Don't remember what it was like the last time, but I think it's been sporadic. Do we have anybody else? All right, hearing none at this point, I'll say that I've got a completely different microphone here for YouTube. Now, if you happen to be monitoring on YouTube, please let me know over the air here or in the comments on YouTube whether the mic is too loud, too quiet, or anything of the sort. It's a cardioid mic, I think, and it's actually designed for computer use. It came with a Sun Spark station, actually an Ultra Spark station, whatever they called those. And it's been sitting in a box here for a long time. I've been contemplating for years now using it for this purpose. And now here I am using it. I think it's going to work better than the other microphones I had been using. It has a lot more gain than the previous microphones I tried. And I know that the audio level is always an issue, so hopefully this is an improvement. If not, of course, let me know, and I don't know that I can switch back during the net here, but some way, somehow, I can do something different. And nothing else new, particularly to report. Weather's getting warmer, and I guess we're supposed to have thunderstorms maybe tonight, although the radar doesn't look like it at this point. And atmospheric noise seems to be a little bit higher than normal here tonight, though it's very hard for me to judge unless it gets really bad. And maybe propagation is up. We will see. I did not check the signal strength meter here yet. But we'll go to the top of the list. Frank, W9JCC, it's your turn from KC9UDX.
Okay, thank you, Matt. KC9UDX and the net, W9JCC, and good evening, Matt, and everybody else that checked in. What kind of a busy week. We had a new roof put on our house starting Monday, and they got done at noon today, so it really went quick. And the guys that are doing the job were really, really fast, and worked really hard, worked long hours too. I think the first day we worked about 11 hours, and they got it finished off today, so both sides was real happy about them getting done and cleaning up and leaving the area. But anyway, it looks like it turned out real good. So I don't have YouTube on there, Matt, so
All right, thank you, Frank. We do have a comment on YouTube. N9WQ November 9er Whiskey Quebec says he can't hear me in North Fond du Lac, which I guess is not a big surprise, but maybe someday we'll be running a little more power here and make that possible. I've got a linear amplifier that I did use in the past, but I'd like to make some changes to the station here before I use that again. And Frank, fine business on the roof. That is very fast. I had my roof done in June 2004, I think. And I seem to remember it taking considerably longer than that. And I don't have a very big roof. But maybe they do things different these days. That was a long time ago. Maybe you had a larger crew. I have no idea. I couldn't even tell you the size of the crew we had here. I don't remember real well. That was quite a few years ago already. And with that, I guess we'll go to Carol, N9CXK from KC9UDX.
KC9UDX, N9CXK. Well, thank you, Matt. Nice to be welcomed in here. I am running about 18 watts here on my IC991. I don't have any old radios anymore that do AM, and they take up too much room for my new shack here, so I'm using this, but it sounds really good. Both of you, you and Frank, are both about 5 to 10 over 9 here. And I assume that you guys are running vertical polarization. That's what it sounds like anyways. I know last time I was using my halo up there, and then I switched to the vertical, and everybody came right up. So I guess you're bucking the tide here. But sounds good. Yeah, that's pretty fast for a roof. The house that we just left about 6 months ago, we had to have half of the main roof redone because of water damage, and they came. These are guys from East Troy out here. They came, and in one day, they did the whole half of the roof, which is 30 by 25 probably, with a new ridge vent and all new roof boards because they were all damaged. And they did it in one day. So there are ways to move things along, but I think when they came, they had about 10 guys. But again, they were interested in getting it finished. And I think that's probably what those guys were doing yesterday and today. They were interested in getting it finished because we're going to have a little wetness here, I'm afraid. I've been outside since I came home trying to make sure nothing's blowing away, that the antennas are still on the roof, and picking up the other stuff that's trying to blow away. And it's pretty amazing that I've picked up leaves about 10 times already. And every time it blows like this, I have tons more leaves in the yard, so picking those up again. What else is going on here? Here at my new QTH, I do have a single halo up for sideband, and I purchased a pair of halos off eBay, and when I got them, they were M-squared halos. So I still had a phasing harness left from my old stacked 11s, and I have it all together, but I need to put a new mount up on it. These are going to go on the chimney. They're not very big, and they can peacefully sit on the chimney, I think, but the chimney mounts here are probably 35 years old, so I'm going to get some new ones. Straighten all that out, but then on sideband I should be doing well. I don't suppose the guy in Fond du Lac is probably going to hear you, unless you run a linear. I don't run linears anymore. Well, and I shouldn't say that. I do have a linear now for 2-meter sideband. Not a big one, 80 watts. But it makes a big difference, and has a receive preamp that really makes a difference. So I'm going to be experimenting with that. I thought you were going to say that if we wanted to listen on AM and transmit on sideband, you'd be okay with that, but I won't do that to you. but I have been listening to AM guys on my TR9000 on the sideband, and that's no problem at all. You just tune them in and touch it every time a different guy comes on. That's easy enough. So, and Frank, for you, yesterday when I came home from work, I got up on the roof. I have my that horizontal 10-meter antenna. I had it up about 20 feet above the deck. And yesterday I came home and I got another 5-foot section of mast in there, so it's about 25 feet up, and of course the wind is blowing 40 miles an hour again, so. Boop, timed out. Back to everybody. N9CXK.
Alright, thank you, Carol. And yes, we do run vertical polarization. I took a poll, there was a lot of pondering, a lot of consideration about this way back when I first contemplated starting this net, and I took a poll, and a lot of us really discussed it a lot, and we came, or at least I came to the conclusion that it would be best if we ran vertical. I guess, first of all, most people at the time that I discussed this with had vertical antennas, or both, and one of the other considerations was that to get more people interested in this, the vast majority of people out there have vertical antennas on 2 meters for FM. A lot less people run horizontal for sideband, so if we were going to attract more new people, it would be easier with vertical polarization. Now, my goal has always been to have another antenna and be able to swap between horizontal and vertical. At one point I had that, but my horizontal antenna was useless compared to this one. This one has quite a bit of gain and it's pretty high up. And I don't know when I'll ever get around to doing that. It would certainly be nice to have a horizontal steerable beam. With that and the linear, for sure I could probably get Fond du Lac on certain days. What else was I going to say here? Oh, yeah, I don't think I'd be able to hear you on sideband, although theoretically I could try to listen. I've got a spot oscillator on this radio that, I'd have to tune my transmit frequency off a little bit to be able to hear you and turn the spotter on. Otherwise, I don't have any way to do that. I don't know if I've ever tried that. I would assume it works. I don't know. The interesting thing about this GONSET communicator is that I could transmit an FM if I want to, and I have done that. The VFO has a tuning capacitor in it, and you can plug a microphone into the tuning capacitor. This is intentional. It's designed to do this, and then you can operate an FM. It's been a very long time since I did that. I actually was able to make contact on a repeater with this old GONSET communicator 4. I don't remember how I did it, but somehow I transmitted CT CSS to open up the squelch on the repeater, and it worked. But it was a complicated setup, I do recall that. I only did it one time. As far as leaves, I haven't noticed too much of a problem with leaves this year. I was just discussing with my wife today how much less wind we have here. I kind of live up on a little plateau, and in the past, the wind here was always severe. If we'd get moderate wind, I would have wind damage all the time. And we've finally got to the point where our trees around here have matured, and the wind isn't quite so bad. I used to have roof damage all the time just from moderate windstorms, and I don't get that so much anymore. But speaking of roofs, and you mentioned the ridge vent, having the ridge vent replaced. When the roofers did my roof back in 2004, they used a ridge vent that is not manufactured anymore that I know of, and it's wider than all the ones you can buy. And the only reason that became a problem for me was I'm not sure when it was, maybe 5 years ago now. We got hit by a tornado. It was a F0, I guess, tornado, EF0, whatever they call it. And it didn't do a terrible amount of damage, but it did rip my ridge vent off, mangled my TV antenna, and I don't remember how much other damage there was, but I guess I replaced quite a few shingles and I had to replace the ridge vent. And the problem was that the old ridge vent was wider than what I could buy now. And it just barely covers that gap. I really should tear it all up and replace the decking, sheathing, whatever you call it, on the roof, and make the gap narrower, but that's just not real feasible for me, right now. Anyway, what else was I going to say? I forgot. So, next we'll go to Dale. Hopefully I've been talking loudly enough here, Dale, that you can hear me. AB9DW from KC9UDX. Go ahead.
Here is Alpha Bravo 9er, Delta Whiskey. Good evening, Matt. The LSEC signed on to the nest this evening. Yep, speaking of roofs, we got our roof done as well. We had our roof done in January. We were taking advantage of making sure that the contractors' folks were busy. So we took advantage of a break in the weather and got it done in a week. So we're happy about that. Not a whole lot else going on radio-wise. Haven't been too active because I've been working. I'm working on putting an end-fed dipole up in the yard. Of course, I have to wait for a little bit better weather. It's getting a little bit older now, so I don't work very well out in the cold and the wind, so I got to wait for nicer weather. In any case, we'll send it back to you, Matt, 89DW.
All right, thank you, Dale. And I guess this is a good year for roofs. In my opinion, if you have to do something like that, now is the time to do it. It's going to get much more expensive in the future, I think, but hopefully I'm wrong about that. And I guess I'll give some signal reports here. Frank, you are off the scale as always. Carol, you're 8 1/4. Now I've got a 0 to 10. I don't have decibels. I don't have a calibrated S meter. And you're 8 1/4, I think, out of 10. Dale, you are 3 out of 10. And I don't have signal report from or to you that I have in front of me from the past, so I can't compare that. But I do recall, I think, that your audio is better. I mean, at least more above the noise floor tonight than normal. But I could be wrong. I'd have to go back through all the logs to see what I actually wrote down about that. Anyway, we're at the bottom of the list. Let's see if we have any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net. Come now, please. All right, hearing none. I guess I haven't expounded on my station details here in a long time. I'll do that now. N9WQ says he's got a vertical at 70 feet and an 11-element horizontal beam. Not hearing us, which, again, not terribly surprising. It's quite some distance for AM. My antenna is a Hustler G7. Now I haven't talked about this in so long, I'm questioning my memory on this stuff, but I think that's correct. It's up, the base of the antenna is 30 feet from the ground. I'm running 7 watts, and I used to have it written down on the whiteboard in here, how much overall gain I have, and now I don't see it, so it may be covered up here. Unfortunately, I would like to say how many watts ERP I have, but I can't tell you. course, it's vertical, it's omnidirectional, so gain is not great. It's probably, this antenna is probably as good as you're going to get for a vertical on 2 meters, though. My elevation is around 900 feet. I guess I have to check that again because my memory is not very well. So I hope I'm not saying this wrong, but that's what I think it is. And I guess I'll mention one other thing that's happened here recently, maybe of interest, maybe not. I have a disk drive for my Commodore PET. It's a Commodore 4040. It's a dual disk drive unit. It's I guess roughly the size. It's a little taller but a little narrower than a original IBM PC. So you can picture this disk drive as a monstrosity. But it quit working right as I was in the middle of testing some disk operations that I need to use. And so I went looking for a replacement while I tried to fix that drive. And I found for the same, well, not for the same price, but for a much more reasonable price, an entire different PET computer with a disk drive, a compatible disk drive. The computer is an 8032, which is an 80-column PET with 32 kilobytes of memory. My other PET is a 2001 N32, which is also 32 kilobytes. It's 40-column with a 9-inch screen, but the new one is a 14-inch, or maybe it's a 12-inch screen with 80 columns and built-in sound, where my old one has add-on sound. But here's the kicker. The eBay seller that I bought this from was one of the most kindest, most generous eBay sellers, if not the most kindest, generous one I've ever dealt with. He gave me 2 complete identical 8032 setups with disk drives, 2 printers, a very large box of cables to be used with this stuff, very useful things, and a whole pile of very, very useful books, all without charging me more than what I paid for the original computer with disk drive, which in my estimation was a very fair price. And still working on trying to repair that disk drive. Also, I've got the one 8032 apart. I'm modifying the keyboard. I think the keyboard layout on a business, what they call a business keyboard on a PET, is terrible. So I am modifying that to my choosing, just because I can. I could certainly live with the bad layout, but I'm going to modify this one just for the fun of it. So I'm doing that while concurrently working on the repair of that disk drive. And the previous owner of this 8032 had repaired the keyboard in the past. He did tell me about this before I bought it. And what he did is he painted the bottom of the key, the part that contacts the circuit board. He painted that with silver paint, which is a good practice to repair those. But what was interesting was when I took the keyboard apart to clean it, because some of the keys weren't working, all of that silver paint fell off. It just flaked right off all of the key bottoms. So it must have been a long time since he did that. I'll have to do that again, and oddly enough, I will have no problem doing that, because that was one of the things he included with all of these things he gave me, was the silver paint, leftover silver paint that he used. So I'll use that and I'll repaint them. Anyway, we are at the bottom of the list. I'll try one more time to see if we have any more check-ins. Do we have any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net? Come now, please. Well, I hear no one. If you guys do hear anybody, of course we all have different receive capability, let me know. But we'll go back to the top of the list. Frank, W9JCC from KC9UDX.
Okay, KC9UDX in the net, W9JCC. And sounds like you got a real good deal with Matt on the computer pulse. That reminds me of the IBM PC that I got rid of. I wish I had kept. It was perfect condition. It had the two drives in it that I upgraded it to an ET. And I had the DOS manual in mint shape, and it had, I think, 4 games on it. And the grandkids used to play with it when they came over. And when I got rid of my other computers, I included that one, and I wish I had kept that because it would have been a good keepsake. The kids kind of wish, I think, sad when I got rid of it. Signal report wise, Matt, you're 40/9. Carol, you're doing 5/8, and Bill is 5/7. So everybody's coming in pretty good shape here. Roof wise, our roof was 27 years old. It was still okay. The guy that replaced it, so it did probably good for 2 to 4 more years. But I didn't want to have to deal with it later on. I figured we may as well do it now, and that should last us a lifetime here. I listened to the audio there, Matt. It sounds okay. A little bit narrow to me. It sounded a little bit on the narrow side, but it sounds just fine. And our roofing crew only had typically 4 people, and sometimes 2. And they were just hard workers. They had to replace some wood boards in 2 places, and they just were very efficient. We couldn't believe how efficient they were, because there wasn't much talking going on. They just everybody knew what their role was, and they just jumped on it. And they worked long hours too. And Carol, fine on the loop antenna going up another 5 feet. Well, if that does what the last increase in height did, you'll probably pick up a couple more dB. You came in the best I ever heard you last Friday on the 10-meter net. My antenna's been down ever since winter started. The weatherman keeps scaring me into turning it down with high wind reports, predictions, and I just got tired of cranking it up, so I left it down. The top of the tower is about 42 feet, but the vertical is way on top of another 20-foot mast, so it's up about 64 feet. It's typically up at about 70 feet. I got it cranked up. Timed out. I got the TS2000 on, and when it times out, it just I think goes into receive mode. Anyway, as far as roofs go, again, my roofer told me there have been 3 price increases since he made my quote before winter, so prices are definitely going up. My antenna I'm using is I think it's a Hustler 270. It's just a small dual bender. And elevation here is about 900 feet, 890 or 900, right about that area. So that's about it for this round. I'll turn it back to Nip. This is W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank. And I guess when I had my roof done, I had hoped that it would last 30 years. And I guess looking at it the way it is now, I may just make it. It's going to be pretty rough when it gets to the 30-year mark. But I'm not even sure that it'll make it that long. I'm going to have to go up and do some repairs again this year. I suppose it would probably have lasted a lot longer if we hadn't had all the wind problems in the past, and of course the tornado. Now I was going to say something else here and I don't recall. But yeah, everybody regrets getting rid of the old computers, especially now when everybody sees what these things are worth. kind of strange. I've been cleaning up in here and organizing things, and I found something I did not have any idea that I had. In 1986, I bought a Commodore 64 brand new, and it gave up the ghost in, I think, 1995, 94 or 95. And for reasons I don't understand currently, I kept all of the springs out of the keyboard, but not the keyboard. And I kept the metal RF shield out of the inside of it, and I have no idea why. And I thought that was all I had, but for some reason I have the original plastic case. I found that the other day. It doesn't do me a whole lot of good. I thought it was just kind of interesting that I still have that. And with that, we'll go to Carol N9CXK from KC9UDX.
KC9UDX and the net N9CXK. Well, I'm sure your intentions are very good when you put all those things away. Yeah, I remember that back in the 80s there, everybody at work had a Commodore 64 or a VIC-20. A lot of us had those SX64s, the portable ones. We really had a lot of fun with those computers. It was amazing. I still have one Commodore monitor that I use, well, I don't think I'll be using it here, but I used it with my satellite receivers all the time. I'd be out in the yard with the satellite receiver and the dish, and then I needed a monitor, so that Commodore was perfect to align the dishes out there before I connected them to the cables that came in the house. So that was, that's still around. I think that's still in the garage out here. But yeah, when we moved, oh boy, did we have to downsize quite a bit. I still have a couple of storage units full of stuff, and we're working on that. We don't want to have all that stuff, but we had a huge estate sale. That went really, really well, but we still have a lot. My antenna is a Diamond X200, I think is what it is. I don't know that it's in very good shape. I bought it, I sold it, I got it back, I put it up here. I think it's coming apart up there, so that's going to get changed out. I'm going to buy a Diamond, I think it's an X510. It's about a 17-foot antenna, VHF, UHF, and that should last me a long, long time. So, yeah, Frank, yeah, you know, when I checked in the net on Friday, I actually had changed from the 30-watt solid-state radio to the probably 75-watt ICOM. So that helped, but the antenna really did get better because I can tell on receive that everybody is... I'm starting to hear guys now that I haven't heard since I had the beam. Oh, yeah, at my other house I had a 50-foot tower with a 20-foot heavy mast on the top, and then 6 and 10 meter beams and a tri-bander on the top, and it all had to come down and go away. So now I'm just dealing with what I can have up on the tripods on the roof here. But tripods will never move. They are bolted down to 2x4s inside the attic. So I can put whatever I want on those. What else is on my little list here? Oh yeah, my elevation. I'm on the shore of Lake Beulah here. And the elevation here is about 825 feet. But everything to the east is just the lake. And every breath of wind feels like a tornado here. And this here, again tonight, I could hardly stand outside. It was blowing so hard. My weather station hit 32 miles an hour yesterday and 31 today. And it doesn't read high, it reads low all the time. So it's extremely windy. And we've had how many of these 40-mile-an-hour wind events? Half a dozen anyways. I'm surprised anything's still on my roof. And I hope that frank, I hope your shingles get a couple of good days of nice hot sun and stick down really good before we get any more of this wind. As I've seen so many places where people are missing shingles here. Oh, there's a little transmit indicator on here that starts to flash when it's getting near the timeout. So I saw that little red indicator was flashing on and off, and yep, that must be the pre-warning for the timeout. So I caught on to that finally. Who would know? I'd have to read the manual for stuff like that. I probably wouldn't be doing that. So I thought also that probably you're on vertical because, yeah, you can get the most people interested, and the frequency is good too because most people's verticals will come down here without any trouble. A lot of verticals are pretty narrow and they may not get down to 144 without having a 2-to-1 SWR, so the frequency is a pretty good choice for that too. Obviously, that's why you did it. And yeah, I still lust after Gonsets and Clags, but I just don't have any place to put them anymore. I couldn't do it. And the radio I really loved was on 6 meters. 6-meter AM radio was a Utica 650. Was about a 10-tube transceiver. We had the external VFOs. My friends and I all had one. They had the external VFOs. All of it was chrome plated. Probably put out, 5 to 10 watts somewhere in there. But I had a blast with that radio. I worked Canada on a homemade dipole on 50.4, and that was an old clunky tube radio, and that's where I first started hearing these guys on 49 megahertz. They had basically had a net or a bunch of guys that were on 49 megahertz all the time talking over the top of the baby monitors and telephones. So that's another bunch. But I did end up knowing who they were. This is something to keep in the notebook, I guess. What else were we talking about? Anything interesting? Oh, I don't think so. Yeah, I'm just praying that the antennas stay where they are now. Everything. I mean, I've never seen wind like this over and over and over again. Don't need it. I'm glad I moved from the other house. One of the 100-foot trees over there at that other house fell down after we moved. Didn't hit the house, but it missed it by inches. So we're still very happy that we're here and not there. N9CXK, over.
All right, thank you, Carol. And I'll tell you what, you mentioned the SX64. I was just thinking about that today. I think about that a lot with those. That has got to be the most practical, one of the nicest design computers ever made. I was just using mine. Again, I use it all the time. I was using it over the past week. I can put a little end table next to my recliner in the living room and set that right on top of there. It fits just perfectly, and I can do all kinds of my development work on there. I use that a lot. It kind of has a permanent home, when I'm not using it otherwise, on top of a refrigerator, a little refrigerator that I've got just for beer in my pool table room. And I have a program on there that keeps track of my beer inventory. I rarely use that, but it does come in very handy when there's people over here. And well, we didn't choose this frequency for the reasons of antennas, although it does work out well that way. This is a really good spot to be for typical vertical 2-meter antennas. We arrived at this frequency mainly because this is what other people on 2 meters AM are using. And if you look at the band plan, I've got it here somewhere. But there's like a spot that's not dedicated for certain other things, and this is it. And it seemed like the perfect place to do this. And I guess the goal was, by using this frequency, it's establishing it, as this is what people do. Of course, we're not the only ones. I did get this from other groups that were using the same frequency. What else was I going to say here? Oh, I've got 3, I think, other, I guess, boat anchor style 2-meter AM transmitter receiver in one box combinations like this thing here. And I'd like to say exactly what they are, but I don't want to say it wrong. And I was just recently thinking about how I need to dig one of those out and just try it out here on the net and put it aside as a backup. This communicator 4 has worked flawlessly since I put it into use here, but you just never know what could happen at any given time. And it does have some issues. The receive tuning on it, I got to put some rosin on the cable inside of there, which is not such an easy thing to do. It's very, very difficult to get that receive tuner to cooperate. Anyway, I'll keep talking here if I don't move on. Dale, it's your turn next. AB9DW from KC9UDX.
Hi, Matt. AB9DW here. So yeah, this is all really good information. So appreciate the conversation. And with regard to my roof, I had the same experience. I forget who was mentioning it, but they quoted me in December, and I didn't pull a trigger right away. But then they came back and said, you should probably go ahead and lock it in, because in January prices are going up 30% for roofing material. So I locked in the price in December, and hopefully I got the price increase. And then with regard to my antenna, Matt, I was listening to myself through the YouTube feed, and I agree with you. The signal is weak, and it always has been weak, but the modulation seems to be a little bit better, at least this week, because I could really distinguish my voice on your radio much better than I have been in the past. I also run a vertical antenna. It's a Comet tri-bander, but it's not very high. It's only about 20 feet. So that's one of the reasons why my signal is probably always pretty poor. We also have a little bit of wind damage related, although ours occurred about a year ago. We had a big couple of days worth of wind, and we had a branch come out of a tree and knock one of the elements of my tri-band HF antenna out of line. And that's a Mosley Mini 33. So that's been knocked off the filter for about a year now. So I've got to get a scissor lift or one of those cherry pickers and get it back in the backyard so I can get it high enough to get that to get it corrected. So then, of course, when I'm up there, I'll also double check the connections and so on and so forth. And Matt, with regard to the frequency that we're on, the 145.7, I remember us being on a different frequency to begin with. It was like 145.2 or something like that, and then we moved to 145.7. So I guess that was a better frequency to use. So anyway, that's all I have for now. So I'll send it back to you, Matt, AB9DW.
All right, thank you, Dale. And yeah, I don't remember how. I'm sure I have it written down here somewhere. We've moved several times. In fact, if I look at my list of crystals here, I've got one for 145.1. Not saying for sure that we used these. I've got one for 145.23. We probably did use them, but I'm not 100% sure. In any case, yeah, we moved quite a few times. I don't remember how we arrived at the original frequencies we used, but we ran into interference on one of them, and we moved, and I think we ran into more interference, and that's when I did some research to see what other people were using. And I'll tell you what, 30% price increase just like that, that's kind of ridiculous. That's I don't know. That's that's not right in my opinion, but what do I know? Oh, and I was going to say, Carol, you know, what you described with the wind, that's how it used to always be here. If there was just a little bit of breeze, you know, for everybody else, it was like a sandstorm here. That's exactly what it was like. I used to jokingly call this Wuthering Heights. It was always just ridiculous amount of wind, and I always had wind damage. And again, so glad that all the trees around here have grown up, and that's just not that way anymore. But I guess I have been not managing time here very well. We're at the bottom of the list, and I normally would like to call for more check-ins, but I'm running out of time here, so I'll go to the top of the list, and we'll call this the 7-3 round. Frank, W9JCC from KC9UDX.
Okay, KC9UDX, W9JCC. Very good, Matt. And, yeah, the wind, today there was a little bit of wind just before supper time, and I took a walk around the house to check that the shingles aren't flopping around, but they were staying put, so that was good. It wasn't too cool when they put them up today. I think it was up around 60 degrees, so hopefully they stick it together. And fortunately, my roofer, he made the quote, gosh, it's got to be at least 6 months ago, and he was honoring all of those quotes, so that was a good thing. He didn't jack the price up on us at all. Okay, I don't have too much more here. Good to hear everybody tonight. Everybody's got good signals, and we'll say 73s to everybody, and turn it back to net. KC9UDX, W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank. And yeah, you know, I've done quite a few roofs over the years, over the decades, I guess, and it is always amazing how well that tar heats up in the sun, even on a cold day, and sticks together. So it's always a worry when you have wind after a fresh roof installation like that, but it never seems to be a problem. The shingles stick together pretty well, and I'm glad that you're having the same success with that. Next, Carol, N9CXK, it's your turn on the 7-3 round. All right, either I wasn't transmitting, or Carol, if you're still there, N9CXK, it's your turn.
Yeah, sorry about that. I hit the ring on the mic here, and it took off scanning, so it took me a little bit to get back here. But I want to apologize. I guess I'm probably long-winded here tonight. I don't get a chance to talk like this very often in a rag chew, so it's really nice. I'm really having a great time. But I'll make it snappy here. Yeah, when our house was under construction here from about last May until October, and oh my gosh, we were so lucky that we had the builder had pretty much gotten all the wood, most of the materials, plumbing fixtures, all that stuff ahead of time. We had to buy all our lighting fixtures and things and pay the going rate. Oh, that was expensive. Wow. And then we had furniture that we bought in last May, and the last of it just came. Our appliances, we had a loaner stove for months and months until our stove came in. Just awful. And even the builder, only once or twice they said, you know, this is getting really expensive and we might have to ask you to kick in a little more. They never really did. We made some adjustments and it came out good. So there. But yeah, everybody sounded good, except I can't really hear Dale. I can hear him, but I can't get everything he's saying. So sorry about that. Yeah, Frank, I'll be on the net. I'll be on the net Wednesday night, tomorrow night, with Nick. See how it works there. He can never hear me anyways. He can't hear me at all. And I can barely hear him anymore, so that doesn't bother me since you guys gave me nice reports. Everybody, have a great night. I realize things are carrying on here, so keep your hat on and we'll look for you all later. N9CXK 73.
All right, thank you, Carol. And I'm glad you enjoy it here. And don't worry about being long-winded. This is why we're here. It's AM. We're supposed to be long-winded. That's why I think it's kind of ironic that most of these newer radios have timeout timers on AM. That's totally inappropriate. But anyway, that's why we're here. Why we do this, and why I don't. Why I decided long ago to stop saying, we're going to have a specific topic, because we always end up talking on a tangent, and we have better conversation when we don't stick to a topic. And Dale, I was going to say before, and I forgot, but I think in the past your signal was lower, and I know from what I remember that your audio was almost imperceptible here. I could usually just barely make out some of the things you were saying, and you're very clear tonight, and I think your signal is way up from normal. So considering the terrain and the distance, I think that's pretty impressive. And next, it's your turn, Dale, AB9DW from KC9UDX.
All right there, Matt, AB9DW here. Well, thanks, Matt, for taking the net. Really appreciate that. And thanks for the signal report information. That's always helpful. And, I'm hoping that the weather dies down a little bit here, although I guess we're going to get a little bit more rain here before it's done. And hopefully we won't have a lot of wind associated with that. But that's really all I have for now. So, again, you guys all take care during the week, and we're going to have a look. We'll catch you back here the next time this net is scheduled. Thanks, Matt. Take care. 89DW.
All right, thank you, Dale. And before I sign off here, I will say that starting next Monday, I will have a new schedule at work again. And so, we had to shorten up this net. Well, the last time my schedule changed, I don't know for sure. I'll find out for sure when we come around here next month. But I think we can go back to having a longer net, and probably won't have any kind of hard limit at the end. So that'll be a good thing. And I'll say that this concludes the 2 a.m. net. Feel free to rag chew on this frequency after my transmission. We will meet again on the 10th of May. Until then, this is KC9UDX 73, and good night.